Hey students, welcome to your video on cognitive dissonance. So to start off, what I'd like for you to do is to watch this video and to count how many passes does the team in white make. So we have a team wearing white and they have a basketball and they're going to pass to each other. And we have a team wearing black and they're also going to be passing a ball to each other. So what I want you to do is to count how many times the team in white makes a successful pass. All right, go for it.
How many passes does the team in white make?
Go!
All right, so how many passes did they make to one another? Did you get your count? All right, let's see if you were right.
The answer is 13. But did you see the moonwalking bear?
What? Did you? Hold on, let's see. Look at that bear! There he is, he's moonwalking. All right, so some of you might have seen the bear. Some of you missed the bear. And so this is what we're going to be talking about today. Things like change blindness, cognitive philosophy, cognitive dissonance. We're going to be talking about tricks that our brain plays on us. And so the dancing bear, which was originally a dancing gorilla in the first kind of time that this experiment was run, is a really good example of times our brains can make mistakes and trick us. All right, so what I'd like for you to do is in the document, there is a set of questions. Go ahead and complete question set 1. There's 2 sets. Ignore the second set for now, but complete the first set, answering the yes and no questions as honestly as possible. So pause this and then go answer those questions. Okay, so hopefully you answered those questions. Now what I'd like for you to do is to pause again and go and answer the second set of questions. Answer the yes or no questions as honestly as possible. All right, so now that you got those questions answered, let's talk about your experience in filling out those 2 forms. So on one of the forms, it asked for you to kind of give your opinion. Is texting and driving dangerous? Is it important to be informed about local politics and so forth? It asked you about your beliefs. And then in the next set of questions, it asked you about your actions. I text when I'm driving, yes or no. I'm able to name at least one bill affecting my community, yes or no. And so you had a belief versus action set of questions. And so while you were answering these, what thoughts were going through your head as you completed the behavior survey and had answers that were incongruent with your attitude survey? So for instance, is texting and driving dangerous? You might have answered yes, because texting and driving is quite dangerous. Texting and driving while you're on 40 is a dangerous thing to do. But then it says, I text when I'm driving. You also might have said yes. So it's the idea that you know that it's dangerous and yet you do it. And so maybe you didn't have those actually disagree, but with one or more of these, you likely had some type of disagreement between your beliefs and your behavior. And so what was going through your head when you had those conflicting answers? And so the next question is, did you experience cognitive dissonance? Why or why not? So cognitive dissonance occurs when your beliefs and your actions don't match. When you believe something, but then you act in a different way, that conflict between it is what we call cognitive dissonance. And so did you experience that when you had these conflicting answers? And what was your emotional reaction to experiencing dissonance? When you had to admit that your behaviors and your actions didn't match, did you feel uncomfortable? Did you feel disappointed in yourself? Did you feel angry or annoyed with me that I would ask you these things? Or did you just go, that's just kind of how it is? How did you react? And what strategies did you use to try and lessen your experience of dissonance? For instance, did you think something along the lines of, well, I only text and drive when it's safe. Like, I don't do it when I could crash my car. Did you make some kind of excuse? How did you cope to try to lessen the discomfort of cognitive dissonance? And how does this activity relate to understanding prejudice and discrimination? So it's a really relevant question right now. So when we act in a way that's prejudicial or discriminatory, we know that being prejudiced and discriminating is wrong. We know that to be the case. And yet sometimes we practice behaviors in which we do have prejudice and we do discriminate, and we feel very uncomfortable with the conflict between that. And so sometimes people will go into denial and say, no, I don't discriminate. I don't. And we make excuses because we don't want to deal with the cognitive dissonance of knowing sometimes our actions conflict with what we know to be right and wrong. So let's talk more about this. So I have this kind of flow chart that shows how cognitive dissonance works. So cognitive dissonance occurs when there's an inconsistency between your beliefs and your actions. And so when there's an inconsistency, your cognitive dissonance increases at the greater levels. The more inconsistencies you have, the higher your level of cognitive dissonance. And when you experience cognitive dissonance, the way that we cope with those things is, one, we change our beliefs. So we say, well, if I'm acting this way, then I'm going to change my beliefs so that my actions are okay. So if texting and driving is dangerous, but we text and drive, maybe we change our beliefs and say, oh, well, texting and driving is only dangerous if, like, you're driving over 80 miles per hour, so it's fine. Maybe we change our actions. So if we believe texting and driving is dangerous, but we text and drive, maybe we stop texting and driving, and we go with the belief. The other thing is we change action perception. What this means is you believe something about yourself as though it doesn't apply to you. So for instance, if you text and drive even though you know it's dangerous, your change action perception might have you say something along the lines of, well, most people shouldn't text and drive. However, I have a really good multitasking ability, so I'm uniquely able to text and drive when most people aren't. And so that's a change action perception. And so by reacting in these different ways, it allows our cognitive dissonance to decrease, and therefore the discomfort, the annoyance, the anger that could come along with it also decreases. So, considerations. You were wrong about what you believe. You don't hold your belief as strongly as you thought. You don't understand your belief and what it entails. You acted hypocritically. So while we do things like this to decrease our cognitive dissonance, ultimately the truth about when there's inconsistencies between our actions and beliefs are one of these things. However, we don't like those ideas. We don't like to think about ourselves as being hypocritical. We don't like to think that maybe we don't understand our beliefs or don't actually hold them as strongly as we thought we did. And we're being asked to imagine ourselves in the scenarios where we are faulted and wrong. And it's very difficult to believe these things about oneself. We have very high expectations of ourselves. And so the idea that these faults could actually be true is something very difficult to deal with. And so instead we offer rationalizations for each behaviors. And those are these three items. This is rationalization. So instead of admitting that we have these faults, we instead rationalize so that we don't have to admit the fault. And this is something that Most humans do. Cognitive dissonance is a common human psychological trait. So you're not alone. It's okay. So many of us come up with these responses. Why? So many of us rationalize. And so rationalization is a form of self-deception, which is a powerful psychological impediment to good reasoning. When we rationalize, we justify our behaviors and convince ourselves that they are self-consistent so that we don't have to face up to the uncomfortable possibilities. And so ultimately, rationalization is at odds with good reasoning. And so even though it's easier to rationalize and easier to decrease our cognitive dissonance by changing our beliefs or changing our actions or changing our perception of our own abilities, ultimately that goes against good reason. And if you are someone who champions logic and reason above all else, that's a problem. And so you want to decrease your rationalization and instead seek out the truth and seek out good reasoning. And so here we have this little video that a teacher made. I love it, so I love using it. And we're going to watch it, and then I'm going to end this video, and we'll come back for our second video because this is going to be a two-parter. But we're going to end this video with this little song that helps you understand how cognitive dissonance works.
I'm holding in my head several different attitudes. On one hand, I'm great and smart and nice and can't be fooled. But though there's also some other things that kind of prove that I made a dumb choice and now it's uh-oh boo-hoo. It makes me uncomfortable and inconsistent, and it's a thing called cognitive dissonance. It makes me uncomfortable and inconsistent, and it's a thing called cognitive dissonance. My team lost, but I'm no joke. Dissonant. I know cigarettes kill, but I'm gonna smoke. Dissonant. I got dumped, but I'm the best. Dissonant. I am a genius, but I failed the test. Dissonant. I hate boot camp, but I wanna be a Marine. Dissonant. The fox wanted grapes, but he couldn't reach. Dissonant. What will I do? What will I do? What will we 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 do? Use self-justification just to bridge the gap so that my dumb inconsistencies don't turn to traps. That might make me look or feel like less of a human being who is dumb, ignorant, weak, and not worth seeing. Dumb, ignorant, weak, and not worth seeing. Dumb, ignorant, weak, and not worth seeing. Well, my team lost, but it's okay. I didn't really care about it anyway. Justified. My teammates played their very worst game. It's not my fault, they're all to blame. Justified. They say smoking kills, but I'm not a believer. It's just oh so good of a stress reliever. Justified. And it might kill me, but oh whatever, because I know that I can quit whenever. Justified. She went and dumped me after only one day, but that's okay with me because I'm freaking great. Justified. She must have something wrong with her romantic taste. I'm way too good for her anyway. Justified. Cognitive dissonance is no mental alibi. We'll fix this mental dissonance by self-justifying. Cognitive dissonance is no mental alibi. We'll fix this mental dissonance by self-justifying. I am a genius, but I failed my test. Guess what? It's all because my teacher hates my guts. Justified. And not to mention I'm a bad test taker, and this here subject's by far my least favorite. Justified.
All right, we're going to pause right there, and I'll see you just a minute for video 2. Bye.